Hello people, welcome back to Hack Hunter, where I hunt down and expose the worst of the worst when it comes to tattoo artists. This week is episode 16, and we went out hunting in Texas, San Antonio to be exact. And to be honest, I didn't even get that far. Literally the first studio I looked at is owned by an artist that's claiming 20 years of experience. And well, unfortunately if you ask me, he's been butchering people for those 20 years. I'll let you guys decide though. Sit back, relax, let's find some hacks. Alright, so the first artist that I'm going to showcase is a guy by the name of Kika. He's definitely been tattooing for a long time. He owns his own studio, and I found out that he's even got an apprentice working under him, which, to be honest, was a little gut-wrenching to find out, especially once I saw his work. I hate to see guys that you know weren't properly trained, then go out and train somebody new. It just creates this perpetual cycle of bad tattoo artists, and you'll definitely see what I mean. Let's break it down. Alright, here he is. He goes by the name of Kika. I have no idea what his real name is. Yeah, I couldn't find out. Maybe that is his real name. I don't even know his last name. But here he is. He is working at Masterminds Tattoo. You can check him out at mastermindstattoo.com. It's easy to find if you want to find him. It's the place that looks like a fireworks stand. And you can also see him on Instagram at Masterminds Tattoo again. Now, it's kind of hard to tell. They don't always tell you whose work is whose. You got to look at the tags, but some of the things aren't tagged. It was kind of confusing, but I did find a lot of the work that I'm pretty certain is his just based on how it looks. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to show you a cover-up he did. He does a ton of cover-ups. This is one, I don't believe this was his work, but he definitely went to cover it up. Let's see how that turned out. Good God! Just a giant heavy stamp over top of it, and guys, the worst part, I mean, yeah, there's jagged lines, and it looks really roughly sketched, not straight lines, really kind of cheap looking cloud effects, and really just kind of dark heavy shading, but the worst of it is that you can still see the wrench right there. What the hell? Oh, look, there's the bottom of that wrench right there, the bottom of that wrench. Let me show you that again. Look at that. You can still clearly see it. This is just straight up laziness. You gotta be trained on how to do cover-ups. And it's not just something you can just wing it or just put a tattoo over top of another tattoo and call it good. This is something you have to meticulously, specifically design to fit and to mask what's behind it. And this is just an example of him just putting one over the top of one and calling it good. Just lazy work. And on the website, before I get into this piece, he claims that he specializes in quite a few different things, ranging, but one of them that he mentioned was trash polka. And if you don't know what trash polka is, definitely Google it. It's a really cool, unique style of tattooing. It's often just with black and red, really kind of etched antique look designs with a lot of sort of ink splats in the background, things like this. It's really hard to describe, but go look it up on Google. You'll see what I'm talking about. But this is his version of it. Now let me show you an actual trash polka artist. Bam. Little bit of a difference, right? Look at this. Beautifully done. You can see where all the ink splats are very intentional, all mapped out, this sort of etchy look that's very unique to trash polka. You can clearly see that that's a rose. You can see all the folds in it and everything, and looks very realistic. This is trash polka, though, at the heart of it, and this is what it's meant to look like. It's sort of intentionally messy. Now, let's go back to his. This is just straight up messy. There's no planning here. He was literally, I can guarantee you, he was just whipping colors in there as he went. There was no, planning or forethought into where they'd be or what they would be. He just kind of thought if he made it look messy that it might match trash polka, but this to me is just very kind of lazy and there's no planning in it, and it's painfully obvious, unfortunately. Here's his Japanese traditional stylings. This is sort of his MO, just a lot of these heavy lines that you can see the glare off of because he's grinding them in way too deep. And there's a lot of examples, and you'll see it as I go, where the lines go over other lines where they're not supposed to, or he'll just use a single line weight on the whole thing and it all just looks heavy and bold. In this case, what he really messed up on, I don't even want to get into the lotus, but these waves are very, very simple. They're called finger waves, that's what we refer to them as, but he just did this really simple shading in here, and it just, again, is just super lazy. But I notice here, I can tell by the way that this is sort of red and beat up that he colored the fish first, and then he did the gray wash that's supposed to be the shadow under the waves. The reason why that's wrong is because in the world of tattooing, you have to go from darkest to lightest. You can't go back and shade over top of your coloring, otherwise you're just going to shred the skin up. It ends up looking just like a scabby mess by the end of it. Here's another example where he just beat the living hell out of this skin. You can see how welted up this is in the image. Look at this bruising and raised skin around here. I really wish I could see a healed version of this. I tried to find one. I tore through all of his photos, but I couldn't find it. But man, I would be surprised if this person's arm didn't fall off. This is just way too heavy. It's going to be highly subject to infections and just irritation. A lot of scabbing, scarring is going to happen. I guarantee it. You can see places in here where the color didn't even stay. And sometimes you think if the color doesn't stay or you get this patchiness, you would assume it's because the artist didn't maybe go over it enough. The opposite is true too sometimes. They went over it too much and it just beat up the skins to the point where the skin can't hold on to the ink anymore. Here's an awesome custom. Oh, I think this is like okay, I see it. It's a lion, or a half of a weird lion's face mixed with a sunflower, right? Yeah. But again, he just throughout just used these heavy bold lines. Definitely not, this piece was not meant for somebody that does his type of tattooing with these just really dense, thick lines and really dark shading. This could have been a really kind of clean, delicate, detailed piece, but man, for a guy like Kika, you can see it over and over again in his portfolio. He just takes the quick route. This is, oh my god, this is what a lot of his flowers look like. And I don't know, they all look like cover-ups to me, so I can't really tell you if they are cover-ups or not, because they all look heavy and dark like this. Like from 2 or 3 feet away, you wouldn't know what the hell these were. That's just a black splotch on this person's leg. Oh, that's unfortunate. Here's his attempt at some realistic stuff, but again, he just blew out these lines right here, and this is the bend in somebody's arm, right on the opposite end of the elbow, opposite side. And we refer to it as the ditch of the arm. You can't go so heavy on the ditch in the arm. This is a really delicate skin. It's really thin, fragile skin. This is what happens. The lines get super bold and heavy up in the ditch here, and this blowout where the ink bleeds out onto the skin. This is not intentional. It's not something you wanted to do. It's just something that's going to always be the outcome with somebody who has such a heavy hand when they're lining. And again, I can see from the glare effect, I can see the lines. That's meaning that he's just grinding in too deep to get those lines. But I think the worst part of this is the weird human eyes on this owl. He gave it eyelashes, and then the eyebrows sort of fades off into the ear, maybe. I don't even know, but definitely not his forte. I think he just kind of lazily whipped that hair in there. Again, there was just no planning going forward. This is probably one of the last ones I'm going to show you. I think you guys get the picture, but this one, if I just showed you that, what would you say that is? Any guesses? Any takers? Oh man. Apparently, by the hashtag, I can tell it's about the California wildfires, and I can't tell if this was a cover-up. I mean, what is up with this just dark black triangle here and some of this black shading? I mean, I know that it was like a smoky sort of doomsday looking scene out there, but this is just black blotches. Oh man, I hope that was a cover-up, because if he did all this black blotching just for no reason, like, that's even worse. So god, I hope at least the client covered up something horrible that they hated worse than this, but man, I cannot imagine something worse than that. Kika, man, there's so much wrong here. I don't know if you were professionally trained or not, brother, but it doesn't show in the work. I saw a lot of struggles when it came to your line work, a lot of doubling and tripling over these bold, thick lines. It was definitely a ton of damage to the skin throughout your whole portfolio. Your color blending and fading in your gray wash is just not there. It always kind of came out scratchy and abrupt. You really don't have a knack for that smooth blending. I don't know what advice to give you, because after 20 years, you should be much better than this. And I hate to say it, man, but I cannot recommend people to you. I'm sorry. But stick around, guys. I did find somebody in San Antonio, Texas that blew my mind. You're going to want to see him. And this is the guy that I have found for you all. I am sincerely honored to showcase this guy in the show. His name is Adrian Flores. His studio, this is him and his wife. They're a team. They work down there at All-Star Tattoos. You can check him out on Instagram, All-Star Tattoos SA. Incredible work. A lot of the guys that work there with him, incredible artists as well. I just wanted to showcase some of his stuff because it really blew my mind. You can check out his Instagram at Adrian_Flores_SA for San Antonio. Now, let me get into some of the reasons why I'm honored, because in this show, what I look for is artists who have amazing application technique. Because at the end of the day, it's great if they're a good artist and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, what clients really want to look for is if they can apply the tattoo well, if they have experience applying it, if it's going to heal well and all that. So I look not only for artistic technique and knowledge, but also for application technique. And when I compare things, something simple like this little cupcake here, this new school cupcake, I think it's a beautiful piece. It looks like a sticker. It's just epic looking, but if I compare these bold lines to what we just saw from Kika, This was just done. This was just tattooed, and it's on a wrist as well. Just like on Kika's, the wrist was all blown out, welted, all that. But right here, you don't see any of this beat up redness or bloody skin or none of that stuff. No scarring, no glaring. That's because he knows what he's doing. Adrian's got this down. He's been doing it 22 plus years, and this is what experience looks like, 100%. And if you really zoom in on these beads, look at the attention to detail he put into these things. Unbelievable. Each one of these things, he's doing 2 and 3 colors of whites and opaque grays to give each one of these this perfectly little round look. I mean, that's the kind of artist that you're looking for. Not only do they have the patience, they have the technique, but they're willing to spend that time and effort on everybody that comes in the door, big or small. And for Adrian, this is a relatively small piece. Let me show you. This is more of what I saw. I saw a lot of this beautifully blended color work in here. He knows exactly where to use different variations. I love the bright blue in the eyes versus like the sort of the teal and mint tones that he used up in her hair. The blending in the skin, that's not always easy because you're obviously trying to create a skin tone on top of somebody else's skin tone, and he knew exactly where to use skin breaks versus saturated color, and it turned out beautiful. Here's another example of his color work, even more mind-blowing. Now, this is what it looks like when an artist plans out a background. He didn't just randomly whip these textures in here. This was definitely meditated. This was premeditated, I mean, and he planned it all out beforehand. He wasn't just winging it with some rough sketch or rough stencil. Look at all the small details he gets up in these little castles and pillars up here, and these pyres. Unbelievable. And not to mention, I just love the idea behind this piece, little camera in the Russian nesting doll. This one blew my mind. I've tattooed many sea turtles. They're very fun if you're willing to put in the time and effort to do so. I love how he used blues primarily in the turtle, but it absolutely differentiates from the blue water behind him, and that shows a lot of skill. That's an artist that knows their color theory and knows where to use what kind of tones and how to create those definitive edges without needing big, bold, heavy lines to do it. Again, I love this small detail, but he was able to blend the petal behind it. That's really difficult. Or not necessarily difficult, but very time-consuming. You're either willing to take that time as an artist, or you're just kind of trying to get them in, get them out, whip them in. And here's an example of something I often tell clients: don't mix gray wash with color. And the reason why I often suggest this is because they're opposites. Gray wash is diluted ink. That's how we create those fades, is it's basically a diluted ink, diluted black. Whereas color is the opposite, it's saturated ink. And so a lot of times it's very difficult to pull off blending the two together in a piece that looks good. A lot of times it'll look like you started to color something and didn't finish it. He found a way right here, it's a great example, he found a way to make it look very intentional, and it looks like this is exactly how it's supposed to be. And he wanted the vibrancy to lead your eye right to, or your eye to gaze right to her eye by surrounding it with this color of the butterfly wing. And I just thought that was a brilliant use of mixing gray and color. Now, if you're like me, you are blown away by his color piece. His color pieces. That enough would make me want to recommend him to anybody, make me want to go to him myself. But it got even better. His gray work is just phenomenal. I love this clean, bright edge that he did on the side of this child's face. It just really makes the piece what it was, with this dark backdrop behind it and this glare effect here. It just makes it super 3D, very clean, very readable. And I saw a lot of these type of portraits throughout. He just has amazing control of his grays. I believe he might have used an opaque gray, like the actual color gray in the backdrop here. I'm not sure if he blended it with his gray wash or how he did this exactly, but it just has such a rich, clean look to it. This is what 20 years of experience looks like to me, undoubtedly. Here's another great example of that very, very smooth, soft, delicate shading, but it's going to heal that way. It's going to look clean for a long time. That's a difficult thing for us artists to pull off, where you want those light, soft grays, but you need them to heal and stay in the skin and stay like that forever. They're usually the first thing to fade with sun exposure, with poor aftercare, all that kind of stuff. Those light grays are the first ones to go out the window, but you can absolutely see that he's got it down pat. He's getting them in there without damaging the skin so much that the body can't heal around them. So, absolutely. And if you thought he only did like light, soft contrast, you're wrong. He does this great dark contrast gray work as well. Just love this little small detail coming off the guy's mutton chops on the side there. Just a great 3D foreground background effect with the finger and the ace here. Yeah, I was just very impressed by this piece. Alright, Adrian, I don't know what more I can say that I haven't already said. I'm blown away by your work. It's obvious that you're a successful artist for a reason. You and your wife make a great team, as well as the guys you got down there at the studio. I think you got some great artists behind you. I went through you guys' Instagram, and I saw that the way that you commented and the way you treat your clients, it's just amazing. I think that's what every client deserves. And hopefully, if you haven't already, you take on an apprentice, so we get more artists like you training the next generation of tattoo artists. That's definitely what I would like to see. So keep doing what you're doing, man, and thanks. Alright, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching the show. Make sure you subscribe because we put out new episodes every week. Also, hit the bell button so you get notified every time we post a new episode. So when we come to your city, you'll be sure to catch it. Thanks again. I'll see y'all next week.